start with the signing class that is official now. Three guys, all highly recruited, and lots of offers, competing offers. What are some of your first takeaways, first impressions of what you got to know out of Reese and the two UIs?
Oh, well, those three are, as a group, those are as good of a class I think that we've had in an early signing period. I watched Eli Sankum play a ton this summer and fell in love with his game. That kid is so good. He's got this determination to win the game and connect people that I think is similar to what we've seen in some of the guys we've had in our program, like Kyle Rode or Colin Porter or Keegan McDowell or a host of others that just really care about the team and its success. Eli Herbert he was an early decision that was an easy one for me in terms of offering him. He's an elite shooter, but he's also got a great feel. The two Elis have in common their dads are coaches. One's a high school basketball coach, the other is a college basketball coach, and I think I think those guys always end up working out simply because of the value that they put on teamship and winning the game. And then Reese Davidson, like if you would have saw him at the Kentucky State tournament, like no brainer. Like we were fortunate that some of the high major programs around the country are a little high school adverse, and I think because of that and the fit that Liberty is for Reese and vice versa, we were able to get a really good player. So I think all three of those guys have a chance to play and play right away. But we have a good program, so like they'll have to earn it, just like some of the people that have preceded them have had to earn it.
Sankum specifically, I mean, borderline top 100 prospect nationally, depending on what service you look at. Easily the highest rated recruit in Liberty basketball history. How much does getting a guy like that, four-star, just kind of speak to the growth of this program over the past decade or plus?
Yeah, John, for you guys, it's probably relevant. I could care less. Like I don't ever look at who else is recruiting a dude where I have to hear from you where guys are ranked because it doesn't matter to me. I know that probably sounds a little whatever, but I just like I want guys that fit Liberty, that play the right way, that are about the team and its success. And to me, those aforementioned dudes, they were no-brainers that way. Sometimes it's a little harder to evaluate that, especially if you're in the transfer portal, because the window of recruitment is so small. And the number of conversations that you have with those individuals in comparison to when you get a year and a half, 2 years of recruiting a guy, it's a huge difference. So you're not always going to be right, and you just got to accept that. But again, Eli Sankum for me was like, because I've done this for a while, that's one of my favorite dudes I've watched in high school. Like I had the same vibe. Like when I saw Colin Porter, like I wanted to go see him. Like I'd pay the admission to go see him, and I think Eli's in that same breath.
You mentioned the high school adverse for some programs, some of the major programs these days. How does that impact recruiting for you, kind of on the general? How have you noticed that in the last couple of seasons as high major programs have leaned into transfer portal? What that's done for you on the high school front?
Well, Bryce, I think it's a little bit of a catch-22. There's better high school players that have more availability because most of the high majors are recruiting from mid-major rosters and like. But the negative of that, if you jump in that high school pool, well, now you're having 17, 18, maybe 19-year-olds playing against 22, 23-year-olds. So there's a negative or residual that if you decide to do that, and then it's harder to hold on to the high school guys because if they play well early, instantaneously they get branded and then recruited by agents and other people for the high major level. So I just think you gotta stay true to your convictions about how you want your program to be built, and it's sure we benefit from it in some ways, but there's also a residue that like you're going to have to accept when you decide to take more high school guys.
Looking at this year, year's team. Colin didn't play the other night, Brett didn't play in the second half. How are those two guys looking? And then also, what have you seen out of Josh in his first couple games on the court and your prognosis on Ian moving forward?
Yeah, John, I got the realization. I'm not as good of a coach without Colin Porter out there. He just does so much for us on both ends of the floor. And because it's such a long season and we had a little bit of a break in terms of days in between games, which wasn't intentional, we decided to rest him, which, again, knowing that we had 3 games in 3 days without a day off before the last game like we've had in the 2 previous years, we thought that was better. But he's back to practice. Well, today we've got more skill than anything else, so he won't go today, but he'll practice tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday before we play. Josh Smith, I love Josh. I think the runway to return has been frustrating for him because you always want to return to the form that you left with, and we're talking February of 2023. So he hasn't returned to that form. I still think there's hope for him to do that. He's a really good player, and he's had some great practices. He's just been slowed by that injury bug that is nagging and frustrating. But, you know, the great thing about Josh is his character. He trusts God with it. He's handled it, like, better than, I think, 99% of the people who have had to endure such obstacle. Like, I love the way he's processing it, and I really think he's going to help us. He'll play more as the year goes on, as the day goes on, because he's a good player. Did you ask about somebody else? Oh, Brett was, again, precautionary. I felt like we were going to win the game, and he had enough, and he asked to come out. Brett never asked to come out, so we sat him the rest of it. He's, again, back to practice tomorrow when the whole team will practice today. It's a little different version. And Isaiah, he continues to be day-to-day. Like, just trust me. I want to play him in the worst way. If we played him one game in Orlando, it'd be great. I doubt we would play. That's him right now wanting to see if can I get 2, Coach? Again, there's a scenario that we rest him and wait until when we play again, which wouldn't be till the 6th. So we'll see how he looks. Again, he's back on the floor. He's not full go in practice, but he has been, so he's not too far behind. That one again is like, yeah, I'm anxious to see how he looks in the lineup, but we want him for conference play.
Because you're so anxious to see him, I guess, for everybody else that's been playing behind him, specifically RJ, obviously Zach plays all the time, but how happy are you to be able to get those other guys in, to get plenty of minutes for them in this little runway you mentioned, obviously with the Field of 68 tournament, and then potentially down there in Florida, there's some really good opponents for those guys.
Yeah, Bryson, I'll speak to the quality of teams in the tournament. You can't play 4 post guys, 5 if you consider Zach a post guy. It's too many. Like that. Like I played last game, RJ, Josh, Brady, and Xander Yates, all at the 5 position. And although 2 of them could be on the floor at the same time, but typically you would be on the floor with Zach and Isaiah. So, and not to mention TJ. So we've got some size and some young size that I think is going to be really good for us. But eventually we'll whittle the minutes down a little bit, especially when it comes to conference play. Do I think we're deep? Yes. But like I just look, for as long as I've been in this, I think guys, they flourish better. They play with more freedom the more minutes that they get. And if you're only giving them 8, 10, 12 minutes, like if you do that with 4 or 5 guys, like you're gonna. It's hard for a guy to get a rhythm, especially some of the guys that we've had. They've had success everywhere they've been. So I do think we'll get to a rotation. Again, it might be an indictment of myself. I'm still learning our team. When you have the volume of decision-making that Zach, Colin, Caden have, like the other guys just need to play a role that could inject value to what the game needs. And the great thing is we have selfless individuals that are willing to do that. We just haven't played enough games for me to have made that determination yet. In terms of the tournament, guys, like that, I heard Chris Caputo today, some clip of his press conference talking about how, it's a conspiracy theory of the high majors not playing mid majors. Like, and there's an element of truth to that. I do think the way the net is evaluated and now the WAB, the wins above bubble, I think the high majors have had this mandate from their conference commissioners or the league office to, hey, you want to play quad ones and quad fours. So there's a host of us, whether that number is, I don't know, 65 to 110 that is in the net or Ken Palm or Torvik, whatever metric you want to use, that people aren't scheduling us because of the risk it is in losing that game, number one, and you being a quad 2 or 3, or winning the game and you not winning it by enough to have influenced your metric positively. So this year, Conference USA went to 20 games. So we had 11 non-conference games to schedule. We had already had a commitment with the field of 68, so that was 2 games back-to-back or in a 2-day window or 3-day window. And then we played an MTE that we had committed to the year before. So we had this bunch of 3 games and this bunch of 2 games. So now we have 6 games in a 2-month window to schedule. So, man, you want to talk about challenging? We had to take the Dayton game. We hard for us to get home and homes with that quality of an opponent. Had to take the NC State game. Those teams, because they're playing at home, gave us the dates that they were available. So if we said no to them, we ran the risk of not playing them. So what do you have left? How do we fit these non-ones in? Because no one else wanted to start a series at our place. And then we had the compensate agreement from the previous year. So like if anyone knew the amount of time that we spend on scheduling, they'd be like, oh. So again, some of that is, but to get a tournament like Terry's Chocolate, is that it? Man, I hope they got gift bags for us. Because I've watched every team in there now. Vermont, I'll just start with them. Like, that dude is a phenomenal coach. We played him in Myrtle Beach a couple of years ago, and I've got a ton of admiration for the way they coach their team. They will not beat themselves. So I think that'll be a great challenge or a great preparation for us to kind of see where we are. And no matter who you play, win or lose, that second game will be brutal. Both Towson and Rhode Island are phenomenally good on the defensive end. Long, athletic, turn you over, create easy buckets for themselves, will play in transition in their conversion. So, like in a 48-hour window, really it's less than that, probably a 40-hour window. We're gonna get a reality check about what it's like to play on a neutral floor, and how many fans, different basketballs, whatever variables you want to inject into it, we're going to find out. And then, man, you got a quick turn that third game in 3 days. So, but I think the level of opponent will be really good for us. And we go in there because you guys write such good things about us as like this team that's this, that, and the other. And so we'll have a inherent. They got a target on their back. Let's measure ourselves against them. But again, I'd rather have it that way than the opposite. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be really healthy for us to diagnose where we are and what we need to improve.
Had a lot of success in some of these early season tournaments the last few years. Myrtle Beach you mentioned, and then also last year Paradise Jam. How much can these kind of help, not just for conference play, but more importantly for Huntsville and the conference tournament that comes in?
Yeah, that's a fair question, John. I'm not sure. Like that year we won Myrtle Beach, what were we in the non-con? Like 8-3 or something? And then we started 0-3 in the league. Last year we were 12-1 after winning at the Paradise Jam, and then we started the league 2-3. So I don't know how relevant it is. I do think it's good preparation for Huntsville. But so much happens in between that it really is just a matter of how your team is playing. If you remember last year at the end of the year, our group had a lot of confidence going into the tournament. We had won, I don't know what we had won, but a few games out of a few games. And because of that, we walked into that tournament with a belief. The previous year, we survived to go, I think, can't remember what our league record was. Was it 500? Yeah, and then played UTEP in the first round, but we were limping into Huntsville there. So again, I think the dynamics at the end of the season that has your team in a really healthy mind space or like not as confident. I think that has more of a factor than what you did in the non-con.
I just want to follow up on this. You mentioned 65 to 110 coaches that kind of struggle with getting games. You coaches find yourself, bonding together, and is that how, I know obviously Will Wade's over at NC State as a step up first program, but because he came from maybe that, kind of bubble there at McKay last year, does he feel that pain and coaches kind of talk about? Is that how some of these scheduling agreements come between those?
Yeah, no, good question. Will does it because Will just believes they're going to beat anybody. Like I give he and NATO's credit. They don't care who they schedule. Like they're intentional about trying to play teams that they think might have a chance to win their league because they may play a team like that in the NCAA tournament. So Will, again, there's a couple out there that are different. As far as us bonding together, we kind of see the same Vermont, Bradley, Towson, like over and over, you get the same kind of mid-major teams in that window, St. Bonnie. Yeah, what's the solution? Again, I hope the tournament expands because I think there might be another mid-major or two that would get extended an invitation to the tournament. But in the meantime, we just got to keep working at trying to play the best people that we can play in order to prepare us for league. And yeah, would we love to be an at-large candidate? Yeah, we would. But some of that has to do with Conference USA and the way our teams in the league perform, us included. So that'd be my answer to that.
You mentioned still learning your team. Your staff looks a lot different. You got to see them in action now through these first handful of games. What's it been like with that group? How have you seen some guys that haven't maybe been in the role that they're in? How have they performed in your eyes?
Yeah, Matt, I saw a stat with Ben McCullum the other day on the Iowa broadcast, and it talked about the people that he had in his locker room from the previous year. There were like 6 players from Drake, 4 assistant coaches, and on down the list. Well, of our staff, Stephen Bergraff, Luke McKay, Zach Farquhar, Kyle Rode have all played for us, so they know our language. Like our defense hasn't changed. It was changed very little over those years, so they come in with a knowledge historically, not only in their participation but in their execution of it. That I think is it breeds for a connection. Now they're young in it, but so I trust those guys. And then you had Stelios, who was a GA for us, so he kind of knows who we are, and he was at UVA, some similar DNA there. So I think because of that, Matt Painter does this. I know Coach K and Duke, they've hired a lot of former players. Like I think that's a really healthy route for us to go, because just like the players we recruit, man, like those guys have an appreciation for Liberty and whom our university is. So long-winded answer to your question, but I just think their desire to want to be a part of it, to be back in it, would overcome any lack of experience or deficiency that they may have that a Coach Long in his years could bring to our program. I'm not saying I wouldn't hire one of those, but I love the room that we have right now.
Ed, you got anything?
Yes, Coach. Back to your recruiting commentary. You mentioned the trickle-down effect of a lot of programs, especially your power programs, taking fewer high school recruits, so the pool is bigger. What steps do you and your staff take to make sure you're going after the character fits of Liberty who, yeah, maybe they get an opportunity, they leave a year or two later, but they're not players that come in and immediately have one foot out the door, seeking the greener pasture, figuratively and maybe financially as well?
Yeah. Ed, I'd answer that by telling you our vetting process is it starts with from the template of you're either a great teammate and fully invested or you're not. And we wouldn't invite a player into our program that we felt like was just going to be here for a year, unless he only had one season left. Like we want guys that want to be a part of Liberty. I get the reality of, man, if a guy gets offered $1 million, maybe he's like, I got to go take care of my family, and I get that. We understand it. But I wouldn't do that just for the infusion of talent, because I think one of the things that this program has been built on is our connection. And I think players can sniff that out if they think somebody's in it for just themselves, their own brand, or how they could affect their financial future. I just think for us we'd probably see that on the front end and we'd be adverse to adding them to our room. That answer your question?